I don't know, for me growing up, because my grandmother took me to Catholic church, Roman Catholic church, to like, and I always felt separated between the two. But I love those moments where you see the overlap between the two, the faith between the two, because for me, that makes me go, okay, there's parallels and there's beauty in these stories and there's knowledge you can gain from both, and you can grow an appreciation for both cultures simultaneously through learning more about both of them and being able to see those overlaps. Because the other one that I love, and Eddie Gardner talked about it, is the idea of salmon ceremonies. There is overlap between the idea of a salmon ceremony and the idea of grace, the idea of praying before you eat and giving thanks for your food before you eat, and the idea of us all coming together as a community, having that first salmon, sharing that amongst the leaders of the community, and then putting the bones back into the water and showing that appreciation to the idea of sitting at home and praying and thanking God or Jesus or whoever your religious person is for the food that you're eating. And when I see, and I don't know if you've seen this, people who care about the environment, conservationists, when they start saying, I'm going to go vegan because I don't want something else to have to die for me to live. To me, I think of, well, Indigenous people, we found a way to live with having to kill the bear or the salmon. We found a way to find our role within this ecosystem, this responsibility. And when you kill that animal, that fish, that life, you have now a responsibility that you've taken on now that you've done that. You have to utilize all of it. You have to give thanks for it. You have to understand your relationship with the natural environment and your role within this ecosystem. And I hope that makes people go forward in a better direction, that after you say your grace or you give your thanks, that you are now a more humble, responsible person. And I'm always grateful to learn about these things from individuals like yourself, because you get that deeper understanding. Yeah. So moving forward, I'm interested to know about your thoughts on salmon ceremonies. Can you tell us from your perspective what you've experienced through those?
Okay, the first salmon ceremony, the very first one, or the place that it used to take place was actually up in Yale. Like Wilson Duff collected this, and he said that at the place that's known as Eam, he said that's the very first. I think Harry Joseph was his informant, and said that's where the very first salmon is caught. And it's actually right where there's a fishing rock there at Eam, in between where Tilly Gutierrez or the Jackson's fishing ground is, and Alan Gutierrez's fishing ground from Iwawas, their fishing rock. And there was a kind of like a archway, and Tilly said they used to lower them down to that archway, somebody by rope, to catch the first salmon. And of course, when they caught this first salmon, and then you had to cook it and share it with everyone, not just your own family, not just your own community. You had to spread word out for everyone. So you have to share that with as much people as possible. So that's a really important part of it, is sharing it with as much people as possible. And you think about the largest ceremony, first salmon ceremony we had at Kokolitsa was about 350 people. So you think about 350 people eating one salmon, right? We'd have a bunch of other salmon for the feast later, but that one salmon has to be shared, right? So we're actually using those little ketchup cups and putting little pieces of salmon in there and sharing it. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it was taking care of the bones. Okay, so you ask everyone there, if they come across bones, to bring them back. We put a basket in the middle of the gathering place there, and then they come and return the bones back to that basket. The next important thing is what do you do with those bones? Well, the bones are returned back to the river. And we're taught that you need to have a leader, spiritual person, a youth, and an elder. Those four, just those four, and you can have many other people as you want. But those four are the important ones to go down to the river. So usually after the feast is done, and then that's when those four go down to the river and do that work. And then the youth is usually the one that's asked to return the bones. Right? And the youth meaning, I was told by the elders, anywhere from 5 to 7 years old, that age.
Can you tell us about the other people that you said a spiritual person, and you differentiated that from an elder? Could you elaborate on that?
Well, some elders aren't spiritual, right? So some, like a spiritual person that actually knows how to do spiritual work, like a Hekos or a Shulam, or somebody that does that kind of work, right? And even with elders, you have elders who are old people. You also have respected elders. There's a difference there, right? So respected elders are the ones that have a lot of knowledge and are continuously sharing with you that knowledge, right? And so they're respected elders. And then you also have old people who don't necessarily have things that they can teach other than their lifelong history. I mean, they'll always have history that they can talk about, but when it looks at when you look at aspects of Stalo culture and history, that's what you're looking for elders that are able to share that, right? So
Right.
you always have to have one of the leaders, elder, spiritual person, and the youth.
Right.
Those are the four. So as the bones are being returned back to the river, a prayer is said. It doesn't have to be out loud. You just say it in your head. A lot of things that we do is just in our head. We don't say it out loud. Okay, and you say a prayer in your head, and the prayer is said, and that's usually what I always do. I'd be beside the youth and the elder as they're putting it into the water and saying a prayer. So I have to say a prayer to the river, thanking the river for bringing the salmon, being that river that the salmon can come up. Prayer to the salmon, thanking them for coming back every year. So you're actually paying this respect to them so that they come back every year. That's what you're hoping. So the ceremony is going to ensure that they come back. And then the last one, of course, is Chichal Siam, the creator, saying a prayer to the creator for thanking him for creating the salmon and allowing the salmon to come up every year. So once you've done that, then that's pretty well the first salmon ceremony.